Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Clough, one of your fellow racers and steward here at Trip 6. So, tonight we'll be going through the incidents from Sunday night's TC race at Monza. What will happen is I'll go through the reports that have been submitted by individuals, and then what I'll do is go through the results file and look at incidents that have been recorded by the sim. So if you've had an incident and haven't reported it, it might still be looked at tonight. The idea is we try and look at everything, whether it's reported or not. However, the sim doesn't pick up everything, so if there's something that you feel particularly strongly about, you should still report it because it doesn't always capture everything. So that's a little caveat there for you. What I'll do then is, as I say, look at the ones reported by individuals first, so I'll just check the first one. The first one was reported by Jorislav Fides, involving two other cars at the start of this race. So we'll go and have a look at that now. Okay, so who have we got ahead? Riley Koenig and Francesco Caravello. Francesco Caravello. Okay, so setting the scene, we've got Fides here. He's got a better start on the two cars ahead, three cars ahead. I think he passed this one as well. And looking to split the two. Everybody's broadly following the direction of the track at the moment, just finding their positions. Okay, so we've got Caravello here holding a broadly straight line, following the direction of the track. Excuse me, I take a drink. I've got a bit of a cold. I've been suffering with it since last week, so if I sound a bit nasally or a bit throaty, that's why. So yeah, Caravello following a straight line. Fides looking to split the two. Koenig is coming across from the right, but it seems to have equalised now. He's leaving at least a car's width between the two. But it looks like Fides has reacted to to Koenig's car on the right there, and has moved left. Looks like more than he needed to. And indeed carries on moving left and into the side of Caravello. Overcompensates the other way and gets a bit of a pinball effect going on. And the pinball effect continues and turns Caravello around his nose. So that's Caravello and Koenig both into the barriers. Let's see if anyone else takes any pain. A 1, but doesn't really lose any positions. Yeah, 1 affected, doesn't really lose any other positions, but Fidesz just continues on. Let's just run it through then. So Fidesz gets a great launch on the cars ahead, goes to split these two further ahead of him, and gets spooked by the car on the right and overcompensates to the left, and then overcompensates to the right, and then overcompensates to the left, and causes them both to spin into the barriers. Yeah, I think that one's on Fidesz there. Unfortunate for Fidesz because he's going to get a penalty. Unfortunate for the other two drivers. Yeah, just be mindful to take a bit more care, especially at the starts. I know it's always difficult, you're jockeying for positions, but be mindful of cars around you. Try and be predictable and maintain control of your car. So we only had one reported incident for the whole of race 1. That was that one, and indeed in the description Fidesz does say that he reflexively reacted by turning to the left, causing a chain reaction. He apologises, not a deliberate move, you can tell. Just one of those things. So moving on to the ones generated by the sim itself, the incidents. We've got everything ensuing from the very first one that we've already covered, and the next incident is William Westerhoff with Roman Barthez. Barthez. All good, nothing to see there. A little touch from behind, but nothing sinister. And it looks like Willem probably got a bit more of a benefit from it than the chap who did the rear ending. Next is Jordan Osborne and Alejandro Capper. Another one, all good. What's next? Simon Trebek with an immovable orbit. That's the end of the race, that one. So that's it for race 1. Okay, while this is loading up, I know there's a couple of incidents in this that involve me. So what will happen with those is I won't touch them. What will happen is one of the other T6 admins slash stewards will look at those and give a more detailed written report than what I will do following this for the ones that I've discussed verbally. Right then, let's have a look at the incident reports. So the first one is Jaroslav Fidesz again and Simon Trebek. No, I tell a lie. The first one is myself and Callum Wilson, but as it involves me, as I said before, I'll not be touching it. It will be one of the other stewards that looks at that. So Fidesz and Trebek at 4:30. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be anything at 4:30, but sometimes the timings are out between the results and the replay, so we'll just run this through and see what happens. Okay, let's look at from above. Okay, so it looks like we've got Fidesz coming around the outside into the second chicane, and judging by the throttle inputs, looks to put a little squirt on mid corner to try and get into a position where we might be able to be afforded space by Simon in the second apex, but he doesn't quite make it. There needs to be a wheel to wheel overlap. Yeah, Fidesz wasn't really in a position to overtake there, and with the way that this corner is, you've obviously, by the time you've exited the first part of the chicane, you're turning for the second. So there's not re there's the turning point is difficult to define. We all take slightly different lines through there, but is safe to say is that you're pretty much always turning through there from the entry of the first apex into the exit of the second apex. Someone's always turning. So you have to be in a decent enough position at the entry to the chicane to realistically be afforded space anywhere else. think in this case, Simon Trebek doesn't really lose a lot of time to the car ahead. Um, he was following it, line abreast anyway, so I don't think that there was a run coming out of the corner that was thwarted by that touch. And in fact, Jaroslav Fidesz come off worse of it, so I think justice has been served there. Karma has restored balance, and everything is all good. Quickly check what the report was. It was from Jaroslav himself, not complaining against Simon, but just wanting to give his perspective on the incident. Yeah, I think that one's all good. The next reported incident takes us to 21 minutes and 18 seconds, and it's Callum Wilson and Vlad Tokarev. I think we landed on it there. Okay, so we're on board with Callum. Let's play it through. Okay, so it looks to me at first glance like we've got cars ahead that Tokarev's reacting to, but it also happens to coincide with a change of direction into the path of Callum Wilson. Let's look at it from a different angle. It does look to be quite an early turn in there. He's moved to the outside and left the inside wide open, but then turns in quite early. As I said, there's cars ahead that are slowing, more so than the cars following. Let's go on board with Vlad and look at it from a driver's perspective. Yeah, I think you've got we've got Jordan Osborne and Luke Mitchell. So you've got Jordan on the inside defending and compromising Luke Mitchell's entry into the final corner, which is causing him to slow down. Probably looking to get an undercut since Jordan is tight on the entry and probably going to run wide on the exit, or what Luke's imagining is going to happen. Probably slowing more than usual given the closing speed that we've got. Got to bear in mind as well, though, that the closing speed might be exaggerated because Vlad is trying to defend against the car behind, so this closing speed might be exaggerated more so. Either way, I can see what Vlad's doing here is he's probably got half an eye on the fact that he's got a car coming up his inside, and he's also mindful of the fact that he's got a car slowing more than usual in front of him, and conscious of A, running into the back of him, or B, getting backed up and guaranteeing a pass on the inside by Callum. Where's he started turning in? Okay, so we've got the move to the outside now. Callum Wilson's behind, absolutely signalling his intent. He's not leaving any room for interpretation there. He's signalling to Vlad that he's going to be looking at the inside. Okay, so we're starting to see a move to the right from Vlad. Before this board, the gap's starting to widen. Still widening, still widening. I imagine that the car closing is causing Callum to brake more than usual as well, since he's got a car definitely moving across on him in the braking zone. The question is Vlad turning early? And if he hadn't, would Callum have made it into an overtaking position, i.e. wheel-to-wheel overlap, by the time Vlad would have normally turned? So we've got starting to turn now, and we're not seeing a great deal of input, but he's starting to move right, and we're firmly in the braking zone. And there's a significant back gap to the car ahead. Okay, so I think this is probably where we would expect to say that that's decent enough overlap to be afforded space. So we're at this white line. And Callum, I say, is probably braking more, but to be fair, they're both fully on the brakes at this point. Let's have a look at Vlad's earlier laps. Okay, so we can be safe to say that this is probably going to be a normal entry into the last corner, because Callum's now pulling a bit of a gap after getting a better run through Ascari, and what we're going to see here is Vlad taking a typical normal line through the final corner. To the outside, full on the brakes, tight to the line, starts turning about at the end of the Armco there. So we can confidently say that Vlad turned significantly earlier on the next lap. And we can also say, based on the overhead view, that there was a good amount of space to the car ahead still at that point. So I can really only say that Vlad turned in there on the next lap early in an attempt to block the attempted pass of Callum Wilson. We'll go back and look at it one more time. Certainly the car ahead was a factor to play, but I think Vlad could have quite easily slowed and taken the same line as the car in front without turning into Callum Wilson, rather than trying to simultaneously avoid the car in front and block off Callum. So let's just skip on to that one more time. miles earlier. We were tight to that white line up until this point here, and we're already moving across to block off Callum. So we're certainly in the braking zone. So the braking zone starts at 100, and then Vlad's moving across. So if you're going to defend, but don't start making a defensive move once you've started braking, because that's just against the rules. I think if Vlad was conscious that Callum was going to get a good run down this straight and into the final corner, he should have defended the inside earlier. In fact, he does the opposite and moves from a defensive line to the outside, probably thinking that Callum's too far back to have a go. But what he doesn't consider is the cars ahead and what it is that they're doing. And the sad reality is that once you've made your bed, you've got to kind of lie in it. And if you've decided to not go defensive and leave the door open, and cars ahead start to get slowed more than normal, and you get checked up, you get checked up. So as it transpires here, Vlad ends up coming off worse for it anyway. Reading the report, Callum makes mention of receiving damage. I can't determine that from the replay, and there's nothing in the log files that will tell me that either. So I can't consider any damage, actual or otherwise, because I can't confirm one way or another whether you did and the extent and how much it impacted the race. So I can't take damage into account. We can only judge the incident as it is. And the penalties to be applied will be listed in the document that accompanies this video. But yeah, that's on Vlad. And the last one that was reported tonight, for Sunday night, was Fabian and Jaroslav at 27:57. Jaroslav's in 23rd and Fabian's in 19th. So what has happened here? Still 4 places between them, so let's go on board and see. All right, okay. So Jaroslav's here at least a lap down because he's immediately behind Fabian on the road, but he's 4 places down in the order. So these are the 3 cars. Yeah. These are the 3 cars must be behind these. But Jaroslav's still a lap down on Fabian. Don't know why it took me so long to work that out. Let's blame the cold. Alright, let's run through. Let's watch. dear. Having an incident with a driver who is more than a lap ahead of you on the standings. That's not cool. Let's see what happens from this angle. Okay, so if we look at the pit box lines, and the distance to the edge of the track of Fabian. What we'll see that Fabian is as near as can be expected on a not dead straight track, holding a straight line. You'll see these lines ejecting from the back of the car as he runs over them, until the very moment that they touch. They pretty much always exit in the centre of the vehicle, so we can say that Fabian is holding as near as, damn it, a straight line, which means that Jaroslav is closing this gap, and you can visibly see it as well. Yeah, I'm not sure why you would need to be running that close, especially to a car that you're lapping and aren't in the same race as. I think you need to be giving a bit more margin there, particularly when you're in blue flags, which, you know, as a lapped car, a lap down, you are in that position. You shouldn't be impacting the race of those drivers ahead of you. There's nothing wrong with unlapping yourself, but you've got to do so more safely than if you were overtaking a car on the same lap. So yeah, this one's on Jaroslav. Okay, that is the last of the reported ones, so we'll skip now to the log files. And the first one is another one that involves me, so we'll skip over that one. And we have Jaroslav. Okay. So, approaching Ascari. We've got number 81, Simon Trebek on the right. Jaroslav Fidesz, the car that we're on board with. Let's go on board. Probably safely alongside now. We've got wheel-to-wheel overlap. Jaroslav's turning already, tightening his line in. impact. Okay. So I think this is a case of Jaroslav is making this corner more difficult for himself, really, by not keeping wider. He's entitled to the space. Simon can't just turn in if there's a car there, but he's turning already for the corner and tightening that entry. But he's also carrying more speed than Simon, so Simon's going to have more control and more ability to position his car. Jaroslav's going to be coming at the corner quicker and at a tighter line, which is going to inevitably force the car out wide. Compounding this is the run over the curb, which is going to bump the car wider still. I think there's always going to be contact here. And indeed there was. It's tight, but we've got to consider the curbs as part of the racing surface. We are allowed to drive on them. We don't get penalties. Where we do get penalties, we'll let the game sort that out anyway. But yeah, this wouldn't have, if the space that Simon's leaving between there and the sausages is plenty enough room for a car to drive through if the car was on a trajectory that wasn't going to force them out significantly wide. But Jaroslav's got too much speed and it was on too narrow a line, and hitting the curbs as well has just compounded it and forced the car out wide. I don't think there's anything to see here in terms of penalty for Jaroslav. I think Karma has done what it needs to do. If Simon had have come off worse, then certainly a penalty would have been coming. But as it stands, I think we're all good. Let's run this through though, because there's more to follow looking at the log file. Oh dear. So we've got the initial incident, and then slow pirouette. Was braking, but isn't braking now. And indeed starts moving when there's a collision with Willem Westerhoff. Okay. So where does the impact happen? Just left of this line. Willem looks like he's out of shape, probably because he's seen the incident in front, in which we can't hold Jaroslav, can't hold him accountable for Willem getting out of shape. But even if he was out of shape, we've got this. I think we'll go off this tyre mark here. Oh, go away, this stupid thing popping up. You'll just see underneath my mouse here, there's a tyre mark, which Willem probably would have escaped without damage if Jaroslav's car was behind that at the point that he got there. Was Jaroslav's car ever behind that line? And could it have been behind that line if he'd held his brakes? Let's have a look. Okay, so you've had the accident, and this initial like shock of accident is hard to train yourself to brake. So we can't really hold this against him. You know, it's tough. But I think by this point, you know you've had an accident, you're not going anywhere, and he's kind of already braking. So all you need to do is squeeze a bit more. And how fast are we really going at this point? Sorry, 2 seconds, everyone. Apologies, little child interruption there. Where were we? Right. So he could theoretically be full on the brakes now. Would his car be going slow enough to be stopped before this skid mark? Probably not. I think that accident was probably always going to happen. Um, Maybe not as severe, but I think there was always going to be contact there. But yeah, the moral of the story there is, after an accident, hold your brakes because you don't want to go rolling back onto the racing line. That's bad form. Easy done though, in the shock of it. Let me have a look at the file, see what's next. Willem Westerhoff. Sorry, Willem, for showing everyone that. Callum Wilson and Vlad Tokarev, round 2. It's all good. And then we have Fabian Michelon. Fabian. Now we've had this one already. It's already been covered. Reader Uhilal with Basti Schreiher. Excuse my pronunciation. Sorry, Basti. I think that's probably nothing. It doesn't look like a push to pass. It looks like Reader here's slow through the second chicane, and Basti is just caught out a little bit behind by the closing speed. I think if anything, it gives Reader a nudge along, but it's not enough to retain the position. I think just the slow speed through the chicane, that pass was always going to happen, whether there was contact or not. The contact probably made it less likely, but it still happened. yeah, if anything, that contact backed Basti up a little bit, um, and gave Reader a little boost through the second apex, but it wasn't enough to keep the position. Nothing to see here. And that is your lot for tonight. As I said, the incidents that involve myself will be looked at by someone else who's not on my team. It'll be one of the other T6 admins or stewards, but rest assured that they will be impartial. Um, I am. I wouldn't be very pleased if they favoured me because of who I drive for. As always, if you've got any problems with the findings of the stewards, then you have the opportunity to appeal those decisions. Be mindful that appeals should be based on new evidence that isn't available to me at this time. Um, and if an appeal is unsuccessful, then there is additional points added, not championship points, license points. So be mindful of appeals. Only submit one if you are confident that the stewards have made an incorrect decision and it's not just your opinion. Cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful, useful, interesting, embarrassing. Sorry, Willem. Um, yeah, and we'll see you all again at the next race. Thanks. Bye for now.